Hey Jordan, this is Jared getting back to you on Wednesday. Thank you for your weekly reflection number one last Friday. I do apologize that I'm getting back to you kind of late in the week here. It's not my normal mode of operations. I like to give you feedback as quickly as I can on Monday, Tuesday at the latest. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to hold off. I thought I want to give you some video feedback so you kind of see how I operate with my student teachers. And I thought to myself, well, I'd rather try to make it good and meaningful and wait another day or two rather than trying to fire off a quick email and only addressing half of what you wrote about. So I'm going to give you just a little bit, a few thoughts. And just a reminder here, I do appreciate there's a measure of vulnerability when you're commenting about some of these things. You note during the in-service some negativity amongst your colleagues, and that's fine to note, and that's something that we can probably talk through. But this won't be shared with anybody at Lincoln or anybody else at USF, and so I really want this to be a safe environment where, for my lack of chemistry knowledge, at least I can be an advocate for you and maybe offer some teaching suggestions, some lesson planning strategies, and also just be kind of another voice of encouragement in your life during what I imagine in your situation, Jordan, is a pretty grueling first year. I get the impression, especially with your survey of chemistry students, you are getting some challenging students, some challenging behaviors. And what's unfortunate is that some of the teachers who have been around a long time and they've taught through these concepts year after year after year, and they've tweaked and they've changed and they've found really engaging, interesting ways to offer this content. Unfortunately, the way it kind of works in the hierarchy of education is they end up taking on the students that want to be in the classroom. And every year, as new teachers kind of cycle through, they're given the most challenging assignment probably in all of chemistry, which is working with students who don't necessarily want to be there. And so I do empathize with you. I've experienced similar things as I've gone to different districts and kind of been the rookie on staff as well. But I do appreciate your kind of flipping or battling against that negativity. You're not in a place where you're probably going to change the outlook or the habits of people who've been teaching for 20 years. And all of a sudden, because Jordan's there, then, oh, the in-service is going to be great. But I agree with you that I found in-services to be a nice change of pace. It's only after stepping out of K-12 that I realized just how grueling the week is for you and for students. I mean, as you're planning 5 or more lessons a day with students, and you're just constantly on. And even when you're walking through the hallways, you're going to the restroom, you're going to go grab something for lunch, you're always aware of students around you and their behaviors because you're the adult. And sometimes it's nice to just have a day where you're given time to grade, or you're given an in-service, you're given just kind of a change of pace. So take advantage of that. I did find myself early on in my career, and I was kind of at your spot, just soaking up all those in-services. Because I thought, well, I've been through a teacher prep program. There's so many things I didn't know. And now that I'm on my own in my own classroom, it's like I want any ideas you can throw at me. About 5 years into my teaching career, I probably developed some of these negative habits and this negative outlook that you're referring to. And I hope I didn't impact others around me in a super negative way. But it is something that it comes with time. We develop this kind of negativity, it's a shame because I believe that the instructional coaches and the curriculum director, they want to plan as meaningful in services as they can. But unfortunately, they're not always giving every teacher or every content area the most helpful experience. As you move into paragraph 2, you're talking about 2 of the biggest challenges that we have with students in a survey type course. That's attendance and lack of motivation. And there's no silver bullet for either of these. Sometimes there's a level at which both of these are beyond your control. attendance is kind of, your control for that is limited. But what I would encourage you to do is to, in whatever way you can, make your classroom, make that experience a place where students desire to be. Easier said than done, I know, especially when you're dealing with a subject like chemistry, where some students naturally gravitate towards it, but a lot of students, just like English, like what I taught, a lot of students just see themselves as weak. They're not good at science. They don't think they're good at math. And you have to dispel that rumor. You have to dispel that myth, right? Try to encourage a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset says, this is my level of intelligence, this is where I'm at, and it will not change. I thought that way for a lot of years about my ability to do math. And it wasn't until one of my graduate courses, a statistics course of all things, where I realized that by putting in time and effort, by actually engaging and becoming interested in the content, by talking to my friends who are engineers and they knew better, more statistics, by listening to podcasts, all that kind of thing, I recognized that no, I do indeed have the ability to grow and to become better at mathematical thinking. And so while you're limited in your time and your ability with some of these students, you need to do everything you can to encourage them to think in a growth mindset way. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, I actually brought this up recently in another class that I teach, 525, but I thought this was kind of profound because as we think about our classroom, these are some questions that students are innately, subconsciously asking themselves every day that they enter your chemistry lab. They're asking themselves, why do I need to know or be able to do this? How does it affect my life as a 9th or 10th grader? Honestly, can you answer that? Can you make some sort of connection other than just saying, well, it's a required course and you need it to get into college or whatever? And those are true, but those answers, those responses don't always help to motivate our students. The second one's really powerful too. How am I going to use this in the real world? How is your content applicable to the real world at large? Because these students are hearing things from their parents, their older brothers and sisters, their friends that are a little bit older saying, yeah, you just got to get through chemistry. Just kind of get through that hoop and then you don't have to worry about it again. Well, you got to break down that narrative by bringing in some real life examples in whatever way you can. Real life engaging things for students. And then number 3 and number 4 are kind of tied together. Do I enjoy being in this classroom? Do I enjoy interacting with this body of knowledge? And do I perceive myself as being any good at it? And those are really powerful because if I see myself as being good at something, if I have an experience, a prior experience of success, I'm going to be more apt to enjoy whatever that activity is. But if I'm constantly frustrated, then I'm not going to enjoy it as much. I think about even a podcast I listened to recently on game design, video games, right? And one of the speakers was talking about, the designers were talking about the challenge of making sure that the level design is at the appropriate level to offer most players the right level of challenge without it being too easy or without it becoming so difficult that they get frustrated and give up, right? And I think about our courses the same way and what we're asked to teach students. Is every student having an experience of success? Because if they're not, then that enjoyment, which equals motivation, is not going to happen. It's not going to occur. So again, I don't give this to you with any mandate that you post this next to your computer and ask yourself these questions every single class period. But without being in your classroom, as we kind of get to know each other a little bit, this is just one thing that I think could help you in just guiding some of what you're doing in the classroom a little bit. And then you also note that not only do you have students maybe not attending because of outside reasons or because they're not engaging with the content, but you also have students missing class because they're over-involved. They're involved in these other things like the one-act play or whatever it might be. Track season's coming up. You have a lot of students gone for those types of things, oftentimes whole-day events. And so my question for you is just to consider how, when students are absent, you're ensuring that they're still getting the content, right? Because they're missing your direct instruction. They're missing whatever lab might be happening or whatever engagement might be happening. You can give them the worksheet. You can tell them to read these documents, but are they still getting that experience? Are you able to use Google Classroom or other tools at your disposal to create short videos that allow those students to interact with that material? That's one thing that I'm sort of moving towards here at the university when I think about K-12 education, as I'm thinking about, is there a way for me to condense that direct instruction into 15 minutes? Because that's all YouTube allows me to post. Otherwise, I have to pay. But can I condense that direct instruction into 15-minute videos or shorter? Because then, say a student's gone for an entire week, it's really hard to bring them back up to speed. But you can go into that video library and you can say, hey, here's what you're going to need before you go to this spot, before you come and talk to me. And so again, I don't know how realistic that is for you and for your content, but that's just one way of having some backup when students are gone or when students are struggling, that they could potentially go back and review. Check out Khan Academy, K-A-H-N, K-H-A-N, something like that. If you haven't heard of it, it's a really unique kind of program where basically they just offer video lessons. And students can go there and they can almost get a tutor, but it's customized to whatever particular standard or content or strand they need at the time. And I think this is powerful because they'll say things like, hey, pause the video and do this. Well, there you go. Students can do that. Now, that doesn't necessarily create motivation for the students. They still have to have motivation to go through those videos. But maybe it's just, again, one other way that I'm offering to you, whether it helps or not, of trying to bring all students back up to speed when you have this many students gone Monday and then another group gone Tuesday and then a bunch more gone Wednesday and maybe most of them are there Thursday. But you realize you can't teach what you planned on Thursday because everybody's been gone at some day prior. And those are real frustrations in K-12 education for a teacher. So I appreciate your reflection. I do think in my heart it might be a little bit short, just in terms of content. You hit some big, you hit kind of the in-service, you hit your chemistry, you hit your physics, but maybe just give me a little bit more meat, a little bit more detail so that I know what I'm walking into when I come into your classroom later this week or earlier next week. But other than that, Jordan, I hope this helps a little bit. Video went a little longer than I anticipated. Let me know this Friday if you have any further questions in response to anything that I've said. I certainly want to be here to help. I don't want to just give you these pie-in-the-sky answers like, oh, if you can answer these 4 questions, then all your students will be motivated and attend every day. I want to be more realistic. I want to be more practical with you. So give me some feedback as well. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to hearing from you on Friday. Take care, Jordan.